Easter time is here, so I thought let's read some Easter books together. Here are two of our favorites. The first one is The Country Bunny and the Little Gold Shoes. Now this book has a lot of writing, so I'll read the pages and then show you the illustrations. We hear of the Easter Bunny who comes each Easter day before sunrise to bring eggs for boys and girls, so we think there's only one. But this is not so. There are really 5 Easter bunnies, and they must be the 5 kindest and swiftest and wisest bunnies in the whole wide world. Because between sunset on Easter Eve and dawn on Easter morning, they do more work than most bunnies do in a whole year. When one of the Easter bunnies grows old and can no longer run fast, the old, wise, and kind grandfather bunny who lives at the palace of Easter Egg calls the bunnies together from the whole world to select the very best one to take the place. Now often a mother bunny says to her child, "Now if you learn to be wise and kind and swift, someday you may grow up to be one of the 5 Easter bunnies." And all of the babies try their very best so that they grow up and go to work for the grandfather bunny at the Palace of Easter Eggs. Now one day a country girl bunny with a brown skin and a little cotton ball of a tail said, "You know, someday I shall grow up to be an Easter bunny. You wait and see." Then all of the big white bunnies who lived in the fine houses and the jackrabbits with long legs who could run so fast laughed at that little cotton tail and told her, "Go back to the country and eat a carrot." But she said, "You wait and see." The little girl Cottontail grew up to be a young lady Cottontail. And by she had a husband, and then one day, much to her surprise, there were 21 little cotton babies to take care of. Then the big white rabbits and the jacks with long legs laughed, and they said, "What did we tell you? Only a country rabbit would go and have all those babies. Now take care of them and leave Easter eggs to great big men bunnies like us." And they went away liking themselves very much. Cottontail stopped thinking about hopping all over the world with lovely eggs for little boys and girls, and she took care of her babies. And then one day, when her children stopped being babies, and they were little girl and boy bunnies, she called to them and said, "Now we are going to have some fun." Then 2 of them, she gave them little brooms and showed them how to sweep out the cottage. And 2 she taught how to make beds. And 2 more went with her to the kitchen, and in no time at all had found a way to make a good dinner. And with these went the 2 little dishwashers, and they made those glasses shine like crystal. And 2 had little wash tubs full of soap suds, and they washed all the linen. And 2 did the sewing and mending. All the little bunnies were doing the jobs of the house. Now 2 who had sweet voices were taught to sing, and 2 were taught to dance and amused all the others while they worked so that they were all gay and happy. And 2 others were soon digging in the garden. And 2 she gave paints and crayons so they could make pretty pictures for the walls. And when Mother Cottontail had given out all the other tasks, she looked around, and there was only one little boy bunny left. He was kind of sad and lonely. All his other bunny brothers and sisters had jobs to do. And then Mother Cottontail said to him, "You know, you are the most polite of all of my children, so I shall make you a special keeper of my chair. And whenever I come to dinner, you shall seat me politely at the table." And then one day when the little rabbits were half grown up, she heard a great talk among the wood rabbits. And when she asked what it was about, they said, "Haven't you heard? One of the 5 Easter bunnies has grown too slow, and we're going to the Palace of the Easter Eggs to see old grandfather and who he will pick as the newest replacement." So she called her little cottontails, and they all set off to the palace to see fun. But their mother was sad because she thought that now she was nothing but an old mother bunny and could only look on. And now that big handsome white rabbit or the long-legged jack rabbit would be chosen. So when they came to the palace of the eggs, there were bunnies everywhere on the great lawn. And the ones that hoped to be the Easter bunny stood together. And all the others looked at them and clapped their paws. And then the big front door opened and the old wise and kind grandfather came hopping slowly out. And he told the biggest and those with the longest legs to show what they could do. They jumped and they ran and they showed their pretty white fur. Ooh, and they were all very fast and they were all very clever. But still he did not pick one. And he said to them, "You are fast and you are pretty, but you have not shown me that you are kind or wise." And then his old kind eyes looked everywhere, and at last it rested on the little cottontail mother, where she stood with her children around her, and he called her to come right up to the palace steps. So she took her 21 children with her to the palace steps to meet the grandfather Cottontail. And she stood before him, and when he spoke, his voice was so kind, she wasn't frightened at all. And he said, "What a large family you have, my dear. I suppose they take all of your time." But she said, "Well, when they were babies, that was so. But now they are bigger bunnies, and they do most of the work in the household." "Oh, you must be very wise to train so many children so well," said Grandfather Cottontail. "But tell me, do they always look so happy? And do they always hold their ears so prettily?" "Well, indeed they do," she answered. "We never have a tear or a cross word in our little country cottage. And if I do say so myself, they do carry their ears better than most bunnies." Then he said, patting the nearest bunny on the head, "You must be very kind indeed to have such a happy home." Here is the mother bunny and all her 21 baby bunnies. "It is too bad that you have no time to run and grow swift, as I might then have made you, Mother Cottontail. You're my 5th Easter bunny." At that, Mother Cottontail laughed, and then she whispered to the little bunnies, and every rabbit on the lawn looked to see what would happen, and the old grandfather leaned forward to watch. What did she whisper to them? And suddenly, all of her 21 children, they raced away, and Cottontail dashed after them, and in no time at all, she had them all back again in front of the palace. Did she show him that she could run fast? That she was swift? Well, then the old, kind, wise grandfather bunny said, "I do see that you are swift also. It's too bad that you could not go to carry my eggs, because you will have to stay at home to take care of your children." Mother Cottontail nodded her head to the little ones, and they all formed a line and bowed low to the grandfather. And then she stepped in front of them and she said, "They will take better care of the house than I." And then she called them up 2 by 2, and as she put her hands on the heads of each pair, she said, "These are my sweepers. They keep the cottage clean as your hand. These make the beds without a wrinkle. These cook my dinner. These wash the dishes. These tend the garden. These wash and dry all the clothes. These do the mending. Well, these sing and these dance to keep us merry while we work. And these are learning to paint pretty pictures for our walls." And then she pointed to the littlest one and she said, "This littlest one, he always pulls the chair out for me when I sit down. So you see, I can leave them to take care of the house until I come home." And then the old, kind, wise grandfather said, "You have proved yourself to be not only wise and kind and swift, but also very clever. Come to the palace tomorrow afternoon, for that is Easter Eve. And you, Mother Cottontail, shall be my 5th Easter bunny." Shall we read more? Let's see what happens when she goes to the castle.